أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا نبينا محمد وآله الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. Inshallah, today I will focus on the next set of verses for today's discussion on Surah Hujuraat, which are verses 6, 7 and 8 of Surah Al-Hujuraat. Last session we covered from verse 1 till 5, and for today it'll be 6 through 8. So, verse number 6, Bismillah Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. يا أيها الذين آمنوا إن جاءكم فاسق بنبأ فتبينوا أن تصيبوا قوما بجهالة فتصبحوا على ما فعلتم نادمين. O you who have faith, if a profligate person should bring you some news, verify it, lest you should visit harm on some people out of ignorance, and then you become regretful for what you have done. So this verse, now that we've established the foundation sort of for the moral conduct, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is getting to specifics. In this case, this verse recalls people who make rumors or stories of slander. It's a great sin. It causes destruction in society. Sometimes you have character assassinations, stripping one from their dignity and honor. It can be really damaging to their reputation. And in a way, it's sort of a red line which guides a Muslim to not believe anything that they hear and to verify whatever kind of news that comes their way. What is the news? Who is bringing the news? Are they trustworthy? And what kind of perception does that have on the community? The historical basis for this verse is the Prophet ordered Walid bin Uqba to collect zakat or Islamic tax on the Bani Mustalaq tribe and bring it back to Medina. And Walid bin Uqba goes to these people to collect the tax, and he sees them standing out in the far waiting for him. So in his mind, the perception that he had is they've come out to kill him, and the truth and the reality was that they're waiting to greet him. So what happens? He doesn't proceed to go see the community or the tribe. He comes back to Medina and tells the Prophet three things. So not only does he not do what he was supposed to do, he comes back and he tells the Prophet they have rejected the teachings of Islam, they are not prepared to pay the Islamic tax, and they wanted to kill him. And some say that perhaps one reason that he had foul thoughts about the tribe is because of bad blood between them, him and them, before he became Muslim. So the Muslims of Medina contemplate, okay, what should we do? And news reached the people of Bani Mustalaq, and they were really saddened because they're out there waiting to greet Walid bin Uqba. But that didn't happen, and the story completely flipped 180 degrees. They came to the Prophet, we seek refuge in you from the anger of Allah and His Prophet. The Prophet then dispatched someone to oversee their affairs, and they saw that they were praying, they were willing to pay the Islamic tax, and there was no issues at all. Now, who was Walid bin Uqba? He was the son of one of the staunchest enemies of the Prophet, Uqba ibn Abi Musit, along with the other staunchest enemies such as Abu Jahl, Abu Lahab, Hakam ibn Asil ibn Umayyah. And also, this individual comes from the Bani Umayyah tribe, which in a way, the whole tribe hasn't done any justice to the religion of Islam, of how much they've, from a historical basis, have ruined it in so many ways. Now, this verse clearly points to Walid being a sinner, because the verse was directly revealed because of Walid bin Uqba. Another verse which commentators also point to, also being regarding Walid, is as a sinner once again, and compares him and Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam as the true believer. This is a verse which many of you may be familiar with. For example, in Surah Sajdah verse 18, and we hear this every Thursday in Dua Kumail, أَفَمَنْ كَانَ مُؤْمِنًا كَمَنْ كَانَ فَاسِقًا لَا يَسْتَوُونَ. And the actions of Walid didn't stop at this incident. He is the same person who ultimately became a governor of Kufa later on, and he is the one who famously came to lead Fajr prayers, and he was so drunk and so intoxicated that he prayed 2 rak'ah and he turned back and told them, do you guys want more? Because he was so drunk from intoxication. And that covers, the gist of verse number 6 regarding anytime we have an incident where people come to us with news, we should verify who is giving me this news. And especially in these times, you have, all this fake news and this and that. But even from a fellow brother to brother, people come and say, so-and-so said this, so-and-so has done this. We should take an opportunity to step back for a second and be like, okay, let me think about this. What are the possibilities of this actually happening? Who is giving me this news, and what's the likelihood of it being true? And oftentimes, no one, I would give them the benefit of the doubt that no one is out there really trying to be a troublemaker and essentially slander others or character assassinate. But unfortunately, it happens, and sometimes we hear something and we instantly jump to do something about it without taking a second to step back and just taking in the information and realizing, okay, maybe I don't need to react to this just instantly or at all, and just need to reflect on what just happened. Now, verse number 7 and 8, I've lumped into one topic. وَاعْلَمُوا أَنَّ فِيكُمْ رَسُولَ اللَّهِ لو يطيعكم في كثير من الأمر لعنتم ولكن الله حبب إليكم الإيمان وزينه في قلوبكم وكره إليكم الكفر والفسوق والعصيان أولئك هم الراشدون. Know that the apostle of Allah is among you. Should he obey you in many matters, you would surely suffer. But Allah has endeared faith to you and made it appealing in your hearts. And He has made hateful to you faithlessness, transgression, and disobedience. It is such who are the right-minded. فَضْلًا مِّنَ اللَّهِ وَنِعَمَهُ وَاللَّهُ عَلِيمٌ حَكِيمٌ. A grace and blessing from Allah, and Allah is all-knowing and wise. Now, I mentioned this verse briefly last session, but these two verses give us insight to two major points. The Prophet is free from committing any sin or error, and all of his orders and commands must be followed, and he's under no obligation to follow us. Every person has an innate ability to discern ethical traits and qualities instilled within them, this fitrah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us. Now, the concept of infallibility or isma is a fundamental part of the Ja'fari school of thought, which extends to the prophets and the imams alayhum salam. The prophets and the imams are protected from committing sins going against the commands of Allah at all times during their lifetime, be it officially regarding the Prophet, be it officially before they've announced their prophethood or after. It only makes sense, something I always thought about years ago when I began to look into this topic of infallibility, that Allah sends us one individual, at least within a certain time, one individual to guide us, and that individual is God's truth or representative of Allah on earth, and he has to be infallible, because think about it, if he was to be prone to making mistakes, if Allah's only representative at that time, whether it was the time of Prophet Sulaiman, Dawood, Prophet Muhammad, the Imams, if this individual, which is the representative of Allah on earth, and he cannot get it right, and he is going to make mistakes, then how can God have that expectation of me to, yes, we should strive to, do things right and abide by His commands. But if His only representative cannot do that and is sinning, then that's an excuse for me to just roam the earth free and do whatever I want, because if his messenger, his representative cannot get it right, then forget me. It's like a lost cause. The Prophet is not a mailman. Some people say, okay, the Prophet, the Quran was revealed through the Prophet to us. The Quran is infallible, it's untouched, it's protected. But the rest, the rest of what the Prophet does, it's he's not infallible, and that just doesn't work. He cannot bring the Quran to us at the same time he have faults and he be prone to making mistakes. So this concept just never made sense to me, and to think about it, even put it in an analogy form. Let's say you have water running through some type of river, and you have something right in the river that causes the water to become filthy. The whole thing ends up becoming filthy because of the thing in front of it that gets in the way. You can't have, it's not like a light switch, as then the Prophet goes from infallibility mode when he presents the Quran, and then he turns the switch off. Okay, now he's back to fallible and he's going to make mistakes. So now, does this mean that the Prophet only followed his own intuition and never valued or appreciated the words of others? No, not true. When it comes to Islamic legislation and rulings, there's no wiggle room, because that's between him and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. However, in issues regarding consulting the community or society, the Prophet was open to consultation. He did seek the advice of others. For example, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in verse 159 of Surah Al-Imran, "So excuse them and plead for forgiveness for them and consult them in the affairs. And once you are resolved, put your trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala." In verse 38 of Surah Shura, "Those who answer their Lord and maintain the prayer and their affairs are by counsel among themselves, and they spend out of what we have provided them with." In Surah Shura, verse 38. In the Battle of Badr, the Prophet went out to the field. He informed a group that comprised of the Muhajirin, the people from Mecca and Ansar, and asked their advice on how to approach the battle circumstance. During the Battle of Khandaq, the Prophet took the advice of Salman al-Farsi when he communicated the strategy of digging up trenches in order to overcome the enemy, and that's what they did. So that goes without, within the different avenues where in some cases the Prophet did seek out consultation of the community, those around him. In some cases, no, it's simply whatever Allah decrees to him. Now, the second point which I made regarding the latter part regarding these two verses is this ethical consciousness where we have the ability to discern and recognize good and bad within ourselves. And this again stems back from the fitrah, where we have this innate feeling when something is wrong and when something is bad, is good. Lying is bad. We know lying is an immoral thing. Stealing, these things just rub us the wrong way. Oftentimes when we make a mistake or we commit a sin, there's this guilt that comes to us because we know it's something wrong. And that guilt again goes back to the fitrah which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed in us. And Allah says in Surah Al-Balad, "And we have shown him, the human being, the two paths of right and the wrong action." And sometimes this innate feeling could be locked or hidden, and it just opens up. A good example, the story, and there's many examples from the prophets, but within the story of Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam, when he destroyed the idols, he destroyed all of them with the exception of the larger one. And when the people asked him, and this is in Surah Anbiya verse 64, They came to themselves and they said to one another, indeed, it is you who are the wrongdoers. And then they hung their heads. Certainly you know that they cannot speak. Because Ibrahim told them, ask the large idol. And they realized the logic within this, it makes sense. It's clear that the idols cannot speak. And there was a moment for them where they realized, the truth had come. And this again goes back to the innate feeling within us, which tells us which gives us a moral compass between wrong and right. And the last thing I want to leave you guys with is a hadith of Imam Ali alayhi salam, actually khutbah 78 of Nahj al-Balagha. The person who does not have the ability within his own soul to advise and warn himself from keeping away from bad things will never receive benefit from another person who tries to advise and counsel him on these issues, and others who try to counsel him will have no effect whatsoever. So before anyone can come to advise us, to give us counsel, we need to have that capacity, and that comes with reflection, to build that system within us where we can discern and have better insight between wrong and bad. I hope that has been beneficial. Inshallah, next week we'll continue with the next set of verses. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.